I never thought I'd fall for a ladyboy. Not at 61, not after 2 divorces, but Mai made me feel human again, not old, not broken, not used up. She treated me like I mattered. And maybe, for a while, I did. People laughed when they saw us together in Pattaya, but we didn't care. I told myself love is love, until money came into it. That's when I learned the difference between being loved and being rented. I'd been in Pattaya for 3 months when I met her. 3 months of wandering streets that smelled like fried noodles and diesel fumes. 3 months of watching the sun melt into the Gulf of Thailand like it was apologizing for the day. Manchester felt like another lifetime. The gray skies, the post office counter where I'd spent 37 years handing people their pension checks and listening to complaints about delayed parcels. 2 ex-wives who'd each taken half of everything I had, including my belief that I deserved happiness. My first wife, Linda, left me for a plumber she'd met when our boiler broke. Said I was boring, predictable, that living with me was like watching paint dry in slow motion. The second, Margaret, stuck around longer, but only because she was waiting for my promotion to supervisor before filing the papers. When I finally got it, she was gone within a month. Took the car, the garden furniture, and my confidence. I came to Thailand because a mate at the pub, old Jerry with his red face and stories about Phuket, said one night over his 8th pint, "Cliff, you're dying slowly in that flat. Go somewhere warm before you're too old to enjoy it." So I did. I bought a one-way ticket and told myself it was just for a month. That was 11 months ago. Pattaya wasn't what I expected. It wasn't just the bars and the girls and the old men with their 20-year-old girlfriends hanging off their arms like expensive watches. It was the freedom. Nobody cared who you were or what you'd done. Nobody asked why a 61-year-old divorced man was drinking Leo beer at 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. The city had this strange honesty, like everyone was running from something but at least they weren't pretending otherwise. The bar girls were honest about wanting money. The tourists were honest about wanting cheap thrills. The expats were honest about running from wives, debts, or lives that had stopped meaning anything. I liked that. I liked not having to explain myself or apologize for taking up space in the world. I met Mai at a small karaoke bar off 2nd Road. Not one of those massive places with the neon lights flashing girls, 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 and the aggressive touts grabbing your arm and promising you the time of your life. This was quieter, dimmer, tucked between a 7-Eleven and a massage parlor with a pink neon sign. I'd gone in because it was raining, one of those sudden tropical downpours that turn the streets into rivers, and I needed somewhere to sit until it passed. She was on stage singing a Thai ballad I didn't understand, but her voice had this crack in it that made you feel something. Not perfect, but honest. When she finished, she walked straight over to my table. "You like my singing?" she asked. Her accent was thick, but her smile was warm. I said, "You've got a beautiful voice." She laughed, a real laugh that reached her eyes. "You lie, but I like you already." She sat down without asking, ordered herself a vodka soda, and for the next 2 hours we talked about nothing important. Her favorite food, which was somtam so spicy it made her cry. My hatred of winter and how I'd spent 40 years shoveling snow off my driveway. Why Thai men never dance, at least not the way foreigners do. She had this energy, this confidence that made you forget you were just another foreign man in a bar full of foreign men. When someone at the next table made a joke, something in Thai that made the whole group erupt in laughter, she leaned over and whispered in my ear, "They say, look at the old Farang with the ladyboy. He must be desperate or blind." I froze. The word hung in the air between us. Ladyboy. I looked at her properly then, really looked. The soft curve of her jaw, the delicate wrists, the Adam's apple she'd tried to hide with a choker, the way her voice had that slight rasp underneath the femininity. "Does it bother you?" she asked, watching my face carefully. I thought about it for maybe 3 seconds. All the things I'd been taught growing up in a small English town where men were men and anything else was whispered about or laughed at in pubs. Then I said, "You're beautiful." Her eyes softened. "You really think so?" I nodded. "I really do." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Most men, they find out, and they run away, or they treat me like a dirty secret. You're different." That night changed everything. We exchanged line IDs and within a week, we were seeing each other every day. She'd message me in the mornings around 8. "Good morning, Mr. Cliffy, you wake up already?" And I'd meet her for coffee near the beach. She worked nights at the bar, but her days were free, and she seemed to genuinely enjoy spending them with me. We'd walk along Jomtien, watch the tourists parasailing and jet skiing, eat som tam from the carts where the old ladies would pile the papaya high and add too much chili. She told me about growing up in Isan, the poorest region in Thailand, in a village where everyone knew everyone's business. How her father died when she was 12 and her mother raised 4 kids alone selling sticky rice at the market. How she'd known since she was 6 or 7 that she wasn't like other boys. How she'd wanted to wear her sister's dresses and play with dolls instead of fighting and climbing trees. How her mother had beaten her the first time she caught her, called her a disgrace, said the neighbors would mock them. How she'd run away to Pattaya at 17 with 300 baht in her pocket and dreams of becoming a dancer or a model. "My family, they accept me now," she said one afternoon as we sat watching the waves roll in. But it took long time. Many years of not talking, not seeing each other. My mother, she cry when I first tell her the truth. She say, "I have no son anymore." But then my grandmother, she talk to her. She say, "You have child who is alive and healthy. That is blessing. Don't throw it away because they are different." Now she understand. She say, "You are my child. I love you no matter what." I reached over and squeezed her hand. "You're brave," I said. She looked at me with those dark eyes that seemed to hold so much sadness and so much strength at the same time and said, "You make me feel safe, Mr. Cliffy. First time in long time. Most men want something from me. You just want to be with me." I kissed her hand. I wanted to believe that was true. I wanted to believe I wasn't like the others. I started staying over at her place, a tiny studio apartment in a rundown building near Soi Buakau. The building was one of those concrete blocks with peeling paint and rusted railings where motorbikes were parked on every landing and laundry hung from every window. Her room was on the 4th floor, no elevator, just stairs that smelled like old cooking oil and cigarettes. It was barely 20 square meters, with a single bed pushed against the wall. A tiny bathroom with a squat toilet and a shower that was just a hose attached to the wall, and a hot plate in the corner that served as a kitchen. But she'd made it hers. Jasmine incense burning on a shelf next to a small Buddha statue. Photos of her family taped to the wall. Fairy lights strung around the mirror where she did her makeup. It smelled like cheap perfume and tiger balm and something sweet I could never quite identify, but it felt more like home than anywhere I'd been in years. She'd cook pad krapao at midnight, the smell of holy basil and chilies filling the tiny space, dance around the kitchen area in her oversized t-shirt, and one of my old Manchester United shirts she'd claimed as her own. We'd lie in bed talking until the sun came up, her head on my chest, her fingers tracing circles on my arm. "You different from other Farang," she told me one night. "How?" I asked. "You listen," she said. "Most men, they just want sex, or they want to show off to their friends that they have Thai girlfriend. They don't care about my life or my family or my dreams. You ask me questions. You remember things I tell you. You care." I kissed the top of her head. "Of course I care," I said. I wanted to believe that was all she saw in me. That I was different. That what we had was real. 2 months in, I suggested we get a place together. Her apartment was too small, too loud with the neighbors, fighting through the walls at all hours, screaming in Thai about money and jealousy and all the things people scream about when life is hard. The couple next door had a baby that cried every night from midnight until dawn. The man upstairs played the same Isan folk song on repeat until 3 in the morning. I found a 1-bedroom apartment near Jomtien, nothing fancy but clean, in a newer building with actual security and a small pool that nobody ever used. It was on the 6th floor with a balcony that faced the sea. You could see the water if you leaned out far enough. The rent was 12,000 baht a month. I paid 6 months upfront in cash, 72,000 baht in a stack that made the landlord smile and stop asking questions about visa status or work permits. "You don't have to do this," Mai said when I handed the landlord the money. But her eyes were shining. "I want to," I told her. And I did. The day we moved in, which took all of 2 hours because neither of us had much stuff, she went to the market and came back with bags full of things. Fairy lights, pink curtains with little flowers on them, a small Buddha statue for the shelf, plastic flowers in a vase, a red and gold cloth to drape over the TV stand for good luck. She strung the lights around the bedroom, hung the curtains, arranged everything just so, stood back with her hands on her hips, and said, "Now it's home." I watched her arranging the curtains, humming to herself, and I thought, this is what happiness looks like. Simple, uncomplicated, real. This is what I'd been missing for 40 years in England. Not the big house, or the nice car, or the promotions at work. Just someone who wanted to make a space feel like home. Someone who was happy to be there with me. But then the money started. Small things at first, so small I barely noticed. She needed a new phone because hers was broken. The screen cracked from when she dropped it on the street. 2,000 baht. I gave it to her without thinking twice. A week later, her mother was sick. Some problem with her kidneys that required medicine the village clinic didn't have. 5,000 baht. I transferred it to her account. Then her younger brother's school fees were due. He was in his last year of high school and wanted to go to university in Bangkok, but the family couldn't afford it. 8,000 baht. Each time she asked, she cried. Real tears that made her mascara run in black streaks down her cheeks. Each time she promised to pay me back. "I feel so bad asking you," she'd say, her face buried in her hands. "But I have no one else, Mr. Cliffy. My family, they depend on me. I send money every month, but it's never enough. My mother, she is old now, she cannot work. My sister has 3 children and her husband drinks. My brother, he is smart, he can have good future, but he needs help. I am only one working. I am only one they can ask." I told her it was fine. I told her I wanted to help. I'd worked my whole life, 40 years at the post office, saved carefully, lived modestly. What was the point of having money if I couldn't use it for someone I loved? She'd hug me tight, kiss my cheek, whisper, "You are angel, Mr. Cliffy. Real angel. I am so lucky I found you." I believed her. I wanted to believe her. By the 4th month, I'd given her over 30,000 baht. I didn't keep track exactly. It felt wrong to count, like I was reducing what we had to a transaction, turning love into bookkeeping. But one night, lying in bed while she slept beside me, her breathing soft and steady, I did the math in my head. Rent, utilities, phone, groceries, her mother's medicine, her brother's tuition, her cousin's motorbike accident that required hospital bills, to her friend's wedding, where she needed to give a gift and buy a new dress, because you can't go to a Thai wedding without looking good. 32,000, maybe 35. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the sound of her breathing and the distant hum of traffic from the street below, and I told myself it didn't matter. This was what you did when you loved someone. You helped them. You supported them. You didn't keep a ledger and demand receipts. My ex-wives had complained I was tight with money, that I never wanted to spend on nice things or holidays. Maybe that was why they'd left. Maybe this time I was doing it right. But something shifted, subtle at first, the kind of thing you notice but tell yourself you're imagining. She stopped saying, "I love you" as much. She started saying, "You're good to me" instead. When I'd reach for her in bed, she'd turn away, say she was tired from work or her stomach hurt or she just wanted to sleep. Her phone was always face down on the table. She'd get messages at odd hours, the screen lighting up, and she'd grab it quickly, glance at it, put it back down. "Who's that?" I'd ask casually. "Just my friend," she'd say. Nothing important. When calls came in, she'd step out onto the balcony or into the bathroom to answer them, speaking in rapid Thai that I couldn't follow. "Work stuff," she'd explain when she came back. "My friend has problem with customer." I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her, because the alternative was too painful to consider. Then one morning I woke up and she was gone. No note, no message, just an empty space beside me in bed that still smelled like her perfume. I checked her things. Her makeup was still scattered across the bathroom counter. Her clothes were still hanging in the closet. Her toothbrush was still in the cup by the sink. So I told myself she'd just gone out early. Maybe to the market or to meet a friend for breakfast. But her phone was off. I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. I messaged her online. 1 check mark. Not delivered. I waited an hour. Then 2. By lunchtime I was pacing the apartment, my mind spinning through possibilities. Maybe her mother was really sick this time. Maybe she'd had to rush back to Izon. Maybe her phone died and she couldn't charge it. By evening, I was checking Facebook, scrolling through her friends' pages like a madman looking for clues. That's when I saw it. A photo from the night before, posted by one of her friends, a ladyboy I'd met once named Nong. Mai in a tight red dress I'd never seen before, standing in what looked like a nightclub, strobe lights flashing in the background. Her arm around a foreign man I didn't recognize, older than me, heavier, with a bald head and a thick gold chain around his neck. They were both holding drinks, both smiling. The caption was in Thai, but someone had commented in English, "You look so happy, sis. New boyfriend?" With a string of laughing emojis. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I sat there on the edge of the bed staring at the photo, zooming in on her face, looking for some sign that it wasn't her or that there was an innocent explanation. But it was her, and she looked happy. Not the tired, stressed Mai I'd been living with for the past month. Not the Mai who cried about her family and said she was working so hard to save money. This was the Mai from that first night in the karaoke bar, confident, radiant, free. She came back that evening like nothing had happened. I heard her key in the lock around 9 o'clock. She walked in, set her bag down on the counter, kicked off her heels, started making tea. "Where were you?" I asked. My voice came out harder than I meant it to, rough with worry and anger and confusion. She turned, eyes wide with surprise. "What you mean?" I stood up, got my phone, showed her the photo. Her face went pale. For just a second, I saw something flicker across her expression. Fear, maybe. Or calculation. Then the tears started. "That's nothing," she said quickly, her voice breaking. "I was helping my friend Nong with business. She has customer who want to meet girls. She asked me to come help her. That man, he is customer. Just customer. I was working." I stood up. At a nightclub? At 2 in the morning? In a dress I've never seen? She started crying harder. Big, dramatic tears that streaked her makeup. "Why you don't trust me?" she sobbed. "I work so hard for us. I do everything for you. I never go anywhere. I am always home. And you think I do something bad? You think I am a bad person?" I felt my anger collapse into guilt. That familiar feeling I'd had with both my ex-wives. The sense that I was the one being unreasonable. That I was the one ruining everything with my suspicions and my jealousy. I moved toward her, tried to hold her, but she pushed me away. "Maybe I should go," she said. "Maybe you don't want me here. Maybe you think I am just bar girl who lies and cheats. Maybe you never really loved me." Panic hit me like a wave. "No," I said. "No. I'm sorry. I was worried. I didn't know where you were. Your phone was off. I thought something happened to you." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, smearing mascara across her cheek. "You forgive me?" she asked softly, looking up at me with those dark eyes. I nodded. "Of course." She stepped closer, wrapped her arms around my waist, pressed her face against my chest. "I love you, Mr. Cliffy. I never want to hurt you. I am sorry I make you worry." I held her tight, feeling her body shake with sobs, and told myself everything was fine. But deep down, in a place I didn't want to acknowledge, I knew something had changed. And I knew I'd just taught her that I would forgive anything. A week later, she told me she wanted to start a business. A beauty salon. "It's my dream," she said one morning over coffee, her eyes bright with excitement for the first time in weeks. "Since I was a young girl, I love makeup and hair. I am good at it. You see how I do makeup for my friends, how everyone asks me to help them for wedding or special event. I think I can do this. I can have my own salon, do makeup, do nails, do hair. Many ladyboys in Pattaya want this service, but good salon is expensive. I can make cheap but still good quality. I have many friends who will be customers. We can do this together, me and you. I do the work, you invest. We split profit 50-50. In 1 year, maybe 2, you make all your money back and more." She showed me a business plan she'd written on her phone, a list of expenses typed out in broken English. Salon chairs, 6,000 baht each, need 5. Mirrors and lights, 15,000. Hair products and makeup, 20,000. Manicure and pedicure equipment, 10,000. Deposit and 3 months rent, 60,000. Renovation and painting, 40,000. Licenses and permits, 20,000. Marketing and grand opening, 15,000. Total, 600,000 baht. I did the conversion in my head. 20,000 pounds. Everything I had left in my savings after a year in Thailand and 4 months of supporting Mai. I hesitated. That's a lot of money, Mai. She took my hands across the table. I know, baby. I know it is big money. But this is our future. Not just mine. Ours. You invest now, in 6 months we make it all back. I promise. Thai women and ladyboys, they love beauty salon. Always full. We charge 500 baht for makeup, 300 for nails, 1,000 for hair. If we have 10 customers every day, that is 6,000 baht. Every day, minus rent and products, we still make good profit. She showed me a location she'd found. A small shopfront near central Pattaya on a side street that got decent foot traffic. Look, it's perfect. Rent only 20,000 baht per month. Cheap compared to Beach Road or Walking Street. Good location, many customers walking by, close to hotels. I looked at the numbers again on her phone screen. It seemed possible. The math worked out. And maybe this was what we needed. A shared project. Something to tie us together beyond just the rent and the bills and the bedroom. Something that would prove this was real, that we were building something together. Okay, I said. Let's do it. We signed the lease 2 weeks later. At a small real estate office with a bored agent who barely looked up from his phone. Under her name, because foreigners couldn't own businesses in Thailand without jumping through endless legal hoops, forming companies, finding Thai partners, dealing with lawyers and accountants. It was easier this way, she explained. Simpler. I transferred the money in stages. 200,000 baht for the deposit and first 3 months' rent. Another 200,000 for renovations, furniture, and equipment. The final 200,000 for products, licenses, and marketing. Each time I went to the bank, standing in line with my passport and transfer forms, I felt a little flutter of anxiety in my stomach. But each time I pushed it down, this was an investment. This was our future. She was radiant. She called me my investor, my heart, and talked endlessly about paint colors and branding and how we should name the salon. Maybe something English? She suggested. English name sounds high class. What about Beauty by Mai? Or Mai's Glamour Salon? Or Cliffy and My Beauty House? We spent a week setting the place up. I painted the walls lavender while she directed me, saying higher, no lower, more to the left. We installed mirrors with light bulbs around the edges like movie stars had. We arranged shelves with neat rows of nail polish in every color. She took 1,000 photos. Posted them on Instagram with captions like New Beginning and Dreams Coming True, with heart emojis and praying hands. She tagged me in every post. I felt proud. I felt useful. I felt like maybe I hadn't been a fool after all. But then the salon never opened. A week before the launch date, the date we'd announced on Facebook and Instagram with a big banner promising grand opening specials, she said there was a problem with the permits. Thai government, very slow, she explained when I asked why the doors were still locked. They need to inspect building, check fire, safety, check everything. Maybe 2 more weeks. 2 weeks became a month. I'd drive by the shopfront on my motorbike and see the lights off, the chairs covered in plastic, the door locked with a chain. When are we opening? I'd ask over dinner. She'd wave her hand dismissively. Don't stress, baby. Thai way, not rush. Everything take time here. If you push too hard, they make more problems. Have to wait patiently. I wanted to push harder, but I was afraid. Afraid she'd get angry. Afraid she'd accuse me of not trusting her again. Afraid she'd leave. So I just nodded and waited. By the 2nd month, she'd stopped talking about the salon altogether. When I brought it up, she'd change the subject or say she was too tired to discuss business or claim she'd been to the government office and they said another few weeks. I started doing the math again. 600,000 baht. 20,000 pounds. Gone. And nothing to show for it, except a locked shop front and a girlfriend who was suddenly always busy, always tired, always somewhere else. That's when I found the second phone. I wasn't snooping. That's what I told myself. I was looking for my reading glasses and I thought maybe I'd left them in the bedroom. I opened the drawer on her side of the bed, the one where she kept her clothes and personal things, and there it was, tucked under a stack of her t-shirts. A cheap Nokia, The kind people use when they don't want smartphones tracking their location or when they want to keep something separate. I picked it up, turned it on. The battery was low, but there were messages. Dozens of them. Most in Thai, which I couldn't read, but a few were in English, broken English, the kind bar girls and ladyboys use when they're chatting with foreigners. When you free, baby? Miss you already. Send me your account number, I transfer tomorrow. You still with that old guy? And then a name that made my stomach turn. Mark. I clicked on the conversation thread. Messages going back months. Before we'd moved in together, before the salon. Before she'd told me I was different from other men. Hi baby, how are you today? I miss your body so much. Can you come to my hotel tonight? I pay you extra if you stay all night. And Mai's replies. Miss you too, baby. I come tonight after work. Send me money first, then I come. Yes, but not too late, I have to go home. I scrolled further, my hands shaking. You still with that British guy? Mark's message read. Mai's reply from 3 weeks ago. Yes, but don't worry. He just helped me with money. Not serious. I don't love him. He is just old man who is lonely. I feel sorry for him. I set the phone down carefully, like it might explode if I moved too fast. My hands were shaking. My chest felt tight. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. I heard her key in the lock, the sound of her heels clicking on the tile floor. She walked into the bedroom, saw me sitting there, saw the phone in my hand. Her face went completely white. That's not what you think, she said immediately, her voice high and fast. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My throat was closed. Who's Mark? I finally managed to ask. She grabbed the phone from me. He's nobody. Just a friend. Old customer. He send me message sometimes, but I never reply. I don't care about him. I stood up. My whole body was shaking. A friend who sends you money? A friend you meet at hotels? A friend you tell I'm just a lonely old man you feel sorry for? Her expression changed. The fear was still there, but now there was something else. Anger. Defiance. You go through my things? You have no right. This is my private phone. My private life. I felt something crack inside me. I have no right? I gave you everything, everything. My money, my trust, my heart. I paid for this apartment. I paid for that salon that doesn't exist. I supported your family, your friends, your dreams. And you. You've been lying to me the whole time. You've been seeing other men, taking their money while taking mine, making me believe I was special. She started crying, but this time it felt different. Performative. Rehearsed. You don't understand, she said, her voice breaking in all the right places. Life here is hard. I need to survive. I have family to take care of. My mother, my brother, they need money. One person cannot give enough. I never want to hurt you, but I have no choice. I shook my head. So it was always about the money? From the beginning? She looked at me, tears streaming down her face, and for a second I thought she might tell me the truth, the real truth. But instead she said, I need space. I can't do this anymore. You check my phone, you don't trust me, you always ask questions. I cannot live like this. I need to think. She started packing her things, pulling clothes out of the closet, stuffing them into a bag. I just stood there watching, feeling like I was outside my own body. Where will you go? I asked quietly. She didn't answer, just kept packing. Makeup, shoes, jewelry, the pink teddy bear I'd won for her at a night market game. 20 minutes later she was gone. She took the fairy lights with her, unplugged them from around the mirror and wrapped them around her arm. The apartment suddenly felt massive and empty. I sat on the floor of the bedroom and stared at the space where the lights had been. I didn't cry. I just felt hollow. I didn't hear from her for 3 weeks. 3 weeks of waking up every morning hoping for a message, an apology, an explanation, anything. But there was nothing, just silence. I couldn't eat. Food tasted like cardboard. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, heard her voice saying, You're good to me. And I love you, Mr. Cliffy, and this is our future. I'd walk down to the beach and sit for hours staring at the water, trying to understand how I'd been so blind, trying to pinpoint the exact moment when genuine affection had turned into manipulation? Or had it always been manipulation? Had I just been too desperate to see it? Paul, an expat I'd met at a pub near Walking Street, found me there one afternoon, sat down next to me without asking. "You look like hell, mate," he said. We'd talked a few times, shared a few beers, complained about visa runs and the heat. "Had a rough few weeks," I said. He nodded. "Girl trouble?" I almost laughed. "You could say that." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Listen, I don't know your situation, but I've been here 5 years. I've seen this story 100 times. Good guys come here thinking they've found something real, and maybe for a minute it is real, but then money gets involved and it all goes wrong." I didn't say anything. He continued. "I saw your girl, Mai, right? The tall one, very pretty? I saw her last week. She's back at the bar on 2nd Road, with someone new." My chest tightened. "You're sure?" He nodded. "I'm sure, mate. I'm sorry." I wanted to ask what the guy looked like, how she seemed, whether she looked happy or guilty or sad. But I didn't. What was the point? But I had to see for myself. I had to know. So, one night, a week later, I went there. To the same karaoke bar where we'd met almost 6 months earlier. It was raining again, like it had been that first night, the kind of warm rain that soaks through your clothes in seconds. I stood outside on the opposite side of the street under the awning of a closed shop, watching through the window. And there she was, sitting at a table near the stage, with a foreign man, older than me, heavier, wearing a Hawaiian shirt and khaki shorts, the uniform of every middle-aged tourist in Pattaya. She was laughing at something he said, her hand on his arm, the same way she used to touch me. She looked happy. Not the tired, stressed, crying Mai I'd lived with for the past few months. Not the Mai who had panic attacks about her mother's medical bills and her brother's school fees. This was the Mai from that first night. Confident, radiant, fully alive. The man said something else, and she leaned in close, whispered in his ear. He laughed. Ordered another round of drinks. She glanced toward the door, maybe sensing someone watching, and our eyes met for just a second. I saw recognition flash across her face. Then she looked away, smiled at the man, touched his arm again, laughed. I turned and walked back into the rain. I didn't feel angry. I just felt tired, so incredibly tired. 3 months passed. I moved to a cheaper apartment, 1 bedroom in an older building near Theppersit Road where the rent was only 6,000 baht and nobody asked questions. I started teaching English part-time to Russian tourists at a small language school near Central Festival. It wasn't much money, but it was enough to live on. I stopped going to bars, stopped walking on Beach Road, stopped looking at couples and wondering if what they had was real or rented. I just existed. Then one morning in November I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. "Hi, Mr. Cliffy. This is Mai. How are you? I hope you okay. I think about you sometimes. I am sorry for everything. I know I hurt you. Life very hard here, you know. Many problems. Family always need money, mother sick again, brother cannot find job. I try to survive. I never mean to hurt you. You still good man. Best man I ever meet. I never forget you." I read it sitting on my balcony, coffee going cold in my hand. I read it 3 times. 4 times. Looking for something between the lines. Some hint of genuine remorse or honest feeling. But all I saw was the same pattern, the same story. Life is hard. Family needs money. I'm sorry, but I had no choice. I thought about replying, thought about asking for the money back, though I knew I'd never see it. Thought about telling her how much she'd hurt me, how she'd made me question whether anything in my life had ever been real. Thought about saying I forgave her. Thought about asking if any of it, even just the first few weeks, had been genuine. But what was the point? She did what she had to do to survive. And I did what I did because I wanted to believe someone could love me, that at 61 with nothing to offer except kindness and money, I could still be wanted for more than just my wallet. We were both using each other in different ways. She used me for money. I used her to feel young and desired and relevant again. We just had different names for what we were doing. She called it survival. I called it love. Neither of us wanted to admit the truth. I deleted her contact that night. I didn't block her. I just erased her. Her name, her photos, her messages, all of it. I sat there, staring at the city lights stretching out below me, the same lights I'd looked at with her on that first night in our apartment when everything seemed possible, and I said quietly, "Thank you, Mai, for teaching me what I needed to know." Now I sit by the sea every morning with my coffee. The same spot on Jomtien Beach where Mai and I used to walk holding hands while vendors tried to sell us grilled squid and fresh mango. I watch the tourists, the families building sandcastles, the jet skis cutting through the waves, the ladyboys heading to work in their high heels and tight dresses, makeup perfect even at 8 in the morning. Sometimes one of them smiles at me as they walk past and I smile back. Not interested, not judging, just acknowledging. Two people who know what it's like to survive in this city. I don't feel anger anymore when I think about Mai, just understanding. A kind of sad, clear understanding that comes from finally seeing things as they really were instead of how I wanted them to be. Maybe she really did love me, in her way. Maybe in the beginning, before the money became the point of everything, before I became just another source of income in a life that required constant juggling of different men and different stories. Maybe there were real feelings. Maybe when she decorated our apartment with those fairy lights and said it felt like home, she meant it. Maybe when she held me at night and whispered that I made her feel safe, there was truth in it. But somewhere along the way, survival took over. The need to send money home, to keep her mother alive, to give her brother a chance at university, to maintain her own life in a city that eats people alive if they're not constantly scrambling. And I became less of a person and more of a resource. Not out of cruelty, just out of necessity. I don't think she was a bad person. I don't even think she was particularly manipulative compared to others in her position. She was just tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of being what everyone needed her to be. A daughter sending money home every month. A worker entertaining lonely foreign men. A girlfriend playing a role she didn't fully believe in anymore. And me, I was tired too. Tired of being invisible back in England. Tired of feeling like my best years were behind me, like I'd peaked at 30 and spent the next 30 years just running out the clock. Tired of ex-wives who'd looked at me with boredom or contempt. Tired of co-workers who'd stop inviting me to pub nights because I was too quiet or too boring or too reliably single. So we found each other in that tired place, and for a few months we made each other feel less alone. That's worth something. Even if it cost me £20,000 and a piece of my heart, it's worth something. At least I felt alive again. At least someone cooked me dinner and laughed at my jokes and made me feel like I mattered. Even if it was partially an act, even if money was always part of the equation, at least I experienced something. At least I took the risk. My mates back in Manchester would say I was a fool. Jerry at the pub would shake his head and say I should have known better, that everyone knows Thai girls are just after money, that I was naive or desperate or stupid, and maybe I was all those things. But at least I tried. At least I opened myself up to the possibility of connection, even if it ended badly. That's more than I'd done in the 10 years before Thailand. More than I'd done in either of my marriages, if I'm being honest. Those were transactions too, just different kinds. Linda wanted security and I provided it until someone more interesting came along. Margaret wanted a promotion by proxy and left when she got what she needed. At least with Mai the terms were clearer, even if I refused to see them. At least she didn't pretend she was staying forever or that money didn't matter. I was the one who insisted on calling it love. She just let me. I'm still in Pattaya. I renewed my visa 6 months ago, stood in line at immigration for 3 hours with all the other foreign men clinging to their Thai dreams. I found this cheaper apartment that suits me fine. It's smaller, older, but it has everything I need. A bed, a kitchen, a balcony where I can sit in the evenings and watch the city light up like a circuit board, all those neon signs promising pleasure and forgetting. I started teaching English part-time at a small school near the market. 20 hours a week, 15,000 baht a month, just enough to cover rent and food and the occasional beer. My students are mostly Russian tourists who want to learn enough English to order food and ask directions, and a few Thai kids whose parents think English will give them a better future. I'm not a great teacher. I don't have training or certification. But I'm patient, and I show up on time, and I don't judge when they make mistakes. That seems to be enough. My daughter from my first marriage, Emily, she's 32 now with 2 kids I've never met. She emails me sometimes asking when I'm coming home. Dad, you've been there almost 2 years now. Don't you miss England? Don't you want to meet your grandchildren? I tell her soon, but I don't mean it. What would I do back there? Go back to that one-bedroom flat in Salford that smells like damp and loneliness? Stand in Tesco comparing the prices of ready meals? Watch BBC News every night and complain about the weather? This is home now. The chaos, the heat, the strange honesty of a city where everyone's running from something and nobody pretends otherwise. Where old men drink beer at 9 in the morning and nobody calls them alcoholics. Where women and ladyboys sell themselves openly and nobody pretends it's about anything other than survival and money. Where you can reinvent yourself or destroy yourself or just exist in limbo between the person you were and the person you'll never be. I've made peace with what happened with Mai. I don't blame her anymore. I don't even blame myself, not really. We were two people trying to survive in different ways, and for a moment our survival strategies aligned, that's all. Maybe that's all love ever is. When you strip away the romance and the poetry and the lies we tell ourselves. Two people pretending they're not alone until they can't pretend anymore. Two people using each other in ways they've agreed not to name. She needed money, and I needed to feel wanted. She gave me the illusion of being desired, and I gave her the resources to survive. It was a transaction we both entered willingly. I just refused to see it as one. I wrapped it in words like love and future and partnership because that made it feel real, made it feel like I wasn't just another old foreign man buying companionship in a Thai beach town. But I was. I am. And I've learned to be okay with that. The mornings are quiet here. I wake up around 6 when the heat is still bearable, make instant coffee in my small kitchen, the same brand Mai used to buy, Nescafe Gold in the big jar, sit on my balcony in my underwear watching the city wake up. The street vendors setting up their carts, the monks walking in their orange robes collecting alms, the motorbikes starting to fill the streets with their mosquito wine. Sometimes I think about her, wonder where she is. Wonder if she's still with that man I saw her with at the bar, or if she's moved on to someone else. Wonder if she thinks about me at all, or if I'm just one in a long line of foreign men who thought they were special. Wonder if she ever feels guilty or if guilt is a luxury she can't afford. Mostly, though, I just watch the city and drink my coffee and feel a kind of peace I never felt in England. It's not happiness exactly. It's more like acceptance. Acceptance that I'm 63 years old and this is my life now. Teaching basic English to people who will forget me the moment they leave Thailand. Living in a small apartment with secondhand furniture and walls so thin, I can hear my neighbors arguing and making love. Eating street food from carts where the hygiene standards would give a British health inspector a heart attack. Going to bed alone every night in a city full of people selling intimacy. But I'm not unhappy. That's the strange thing, I'm not unhappy. I've made a few friends among the other expats. Paul, who warned me about Mai, he and I meet for beers sometimes at a quiet bar near the Prosit. He's been here 7 years, married to a Thai woman who's 20 years younger but seems genuine. She's not perfect, he told me once. She spends too much money on gold jewelry and her family drives me crazy with their constant requests. But she's loyal, she takes care of me. And most importantly, we were honest from the start about what this was. I knew she wanted security. She knew I wanted companionship. No illusions. I envied that honesty. That clear-eyed recognition of the terms. There's Frank, an Australian who retired here 5 years ago after his wife died of cancer. He lives alone, says he's done with relationships, but he's kind in a gruff way. Invites me over sometimes to watch football on his big TV and complains about Australian politics. There's Dmitry, a Russian who speaks broken English but makes me laugh with his stories about doing business in Thailand, the bribes, the bureaucracy, the impossible negotiations. We're all running from something. We all ended up here because somewhere else stopped making sense. And we've all learned that Thailand will take whatever you're willing to give, your money, your illusions, your heart, and give you back exactly what you pay for. Nothing more, nothing less. Every now and then I see couples on the beach and I watch them. The young Thai women with their older foreign boyfriends, the way she laughs at his jokes, the way he looks at her like she's saving him from something, the way they hold hands walking along the shore. And I wonder if they know. If they've figured out the game they're playing or if they're still in that beautiful early stage where they believe it's different for them, that their love is real, that money and need and survival have nothing to do with it. I want to warn them sometimes. Want to walk over and say, Listen, mate, I've been where you are. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking she's different. You're thinking you're different. You're thinking love can exist in a place like this without conditions or calculations. But it can't. Or maybe it can, but not in the way you imagine. Just be honest with yourself about what you're buying and what she's selling, and maybe you'll be okay. But I don't. Because they wouldn't listen. I wouldn't have listened. You have to learn these lessons yourself. You have to feel the betrayal, and the heartbreak, and the humiliation before you can see clearly. And even then, even after you see clearly, you still end up here. Still end up in Pattaya or Phuket or Manila or some other city where dreams and desperation collide. Still end up sitting on a beach at 63 drinking coffee and watching the sun come up and wondering if you'd do it all differently if you had the chance. The truth is I wouldn't. Not really. Because those months with Mai, even knowing now what they really were, even understanding that I was just another income stream in her portfolio of foreign men, those were some of the happiest months of my adult life. She made me feel seen. She made me feel like I mattered. When she looked at me, when she smiled at me, when she cooked for me at midnight and danced around in my old shirt, I felt alive in a way I hadn't felt in decades. Was it real? Probably not. Was it worth 20,000 pounds? I don't know. But it was worth something. It gave me something I needed even if it wasn't what I thought I was getting. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all any of us can hope for. Moments of connection, even false ones, in between the long stretches of loneliness. Moments where someone makes you feel less invisible even if they're only doing it because you're paying them to. I got another message from Mai last month. Shorter this time. Hi, Mr. Cliffy. Happy birthday. I remember you tell me November birthday. Hope you have good day. Sorry again for everything. You are good, man. I sat looking at that message for a long time. She'd remembered my birthday. In all the chaos and the lies and the manipulation, she'd remembered that small detail I'd mentioned once in passing. Did that mean something? Did that prove there was genuine feeling underneath the transaction? Or was it just good customer service, keeping track of important dates so she could maintain the connection in case she needed it again someday? I didn't reply. But I didn't delete it either. It's still there in my phone, that small reminder that for a moment, however brief, however conditional, I mattered to someone. Even if mattering just meant being useful. Even if remembering my birthday was just part of the performance. It's still there. Sometimes late at night when I can't sleep, when the heat is too oppressive and the fan just pushes hot air around my small apartment, I scroll through the photos on my phone. The ones I took during those months with Mai. Her smiling at the beach, her singing karaoke, her painting her nails on our balcony, her sleeping curled up in our bed with her hand under her cheek like a child. I should delete them. I know I should. But I don't. Because they're evidence. Evidence that for a little while I had something that felt like love. That looked like love. That maybe in some small way was love even if it was the conditional, transactional, survival-based kind. They're proof that I took a risk. That I opened myself up. That I tried. And in this city full of people who've given up or who never tried at all, that counts for something. The sun is fully up now. The beach is starting to fill with tourists. I finish my coffee, now cold, and head back to my apartment. I have a class to teach at noon. Basic conversational English for a group of Russians who are here for 2 weeks and want to learn enough to navigate the bars and markets. After that, I'll probably get dinner from the som tam cart near my building, the one run by the old woman who always gives me extra sticky rice because she says I'm too skinny. Then, I'll come back here, sit on my balcony with a beer, and watch the city light up again. Watch all those neon signs promising escape and pleasure and forgetting, and I'll think about Mai. Wonder what she's doing. Wonder if she's happy. Wonder if any of it was real. And then I'll stop wondering because it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that I'm still here. Still breathing. Still finding reasons to get up in the morning. Still teaching broken English to strangers and eating street food and watching the sun set over the Gulf of Thailand. Still alive in a way I wasn't back in Manchester. Still willing to feel things even if feeling things means sometimes getting hurt. That's more than I had before. More than I thought I'd have at 63. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. Maybe learning the difference between being loved and being useful, between connection and transaction, between hope and delusion, maybe that's what I came here to learn. Maybe that lesson was worth every baht I spent, every tear I cried, every moment I spent feeling like a fool. Because now I know, now I see clearly, and there's a kind of peace in that clarity, even when it's painful. Even when it means accepting that you're alone, that you've always been alone, that the only person who will ever truly take care of you is yourself. There's peace in that. There's freedom. I walk past the karaoke bar sometimes, the one where I met I don't go in anymore, but I look through the window. See new girls, new ladyboys, new foreign men thinking they've found something special. The cycle continuing endlessly, and I feel something like compassion for all of them. For the girls trying to survive, for the men trying to feel wanted, for everyone playing this game and pretending it's not a game, for everyone buying and selling and calling it love, because love sounds so much better than transaction. I understand now, I understand all of it, and understanding is its own kind of love, I think. Not the romantic kind that poets write about, but the real kind, the hard kind, the kind that sees clearly and forgives anyway. That's what Pattaya taught me. That's what Mai taught me. And maybe, in the end, that was worth everything I lost. Maybe that's exactly what I needed to learn at 63 years old, halfway around the world from everything I'd ever known, in a city that strips away all the pretty lies and shows you who you really are. I needed to learn that love is complicated, that people do what they need to survive. That judgment is easy, but understanding is hard. That sometimes you have to lose everything to figure out what really matters. And what matters, I've learned, isn't whether Mai really loved me. What matters is that I was brave enough to believe she did. I was brave enough to try. I was brave enough to open my heart one more time, even after 2 failed marriages and decades of disappointment. That bravery counts for something. That willingness to risk counts for something, and I'm proud of it, even though it ended badly, even though I was a fool, even though everyone back home would laugh if they knew the whole story. I'm proud that I tried, proud that I loved someone, even if she didn't love me back, proud that at 63 I still had enough hope left to believe in second chances. That's not nothing. That's everything, actually. So I sit here on this beach every morning with my coffee, watching the sun rise over the Gulf of Thailand, and I feel grateful. Grateful for the lesson. Grateful for the pain, because pain means you felt something. Grateful for Mai, wherever she is, whoever she's with now, whatever story she's telling him. I hope she's okay. I hope her mother's health has improved. I hope her brother got into university. I hope she finds what she's looking for, whether that's security or love, or just enough money to stop pretending. I genuinely hope that. Because despite everything, despite the lies and the manipulation and the money I'll never get back, she gave me something valuable. She reminded me I was still capable of feeling, still capable of hope, still capable of believing in something beautiful even if it turned out to be an illusion. That's the gift she gave me, and I'm keeping it. I'm keeping the memory of those mornings drinking coffee together, the nights she cooked pad krapao in our tiny kitchen, the way she looked at me sometimes like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't just another old farang with a wallet. I'm keeping all of it, the good and the bad, the real and the performance, because it's part of my story now, part of who I am. A 63-year-old retired post office manager from Manchester who fell in love with a ladyboy in Pattaya and learned the hard way that love and money don't mix well, but that the attempt is worth more than the outcome. That trying is worth more than protecting yourself. That vulnerability is its own kind of strength. This is my life now, and I'm okay with it. More than okay. I'm at peace. Real peace. The kind that comes from accepting reality instead of fighting it. The kind that comes from understanding that everyone's doing the best they can with what they have. The kind that comes from forgiveness, of Mai and of myself. So when people ask me why I'm still here, why I don't go back to England, I tell them the weather is better, the food is cheaper, the people are friendlier, and all of that's true. But the real reason is simpler. I'm still here because this is where I learned who I really am. This is where I learned what I'm capable of, both the foolishness and the bravery. This is where I learned that being hurt doesn't kill you, it just teaches you. And I'm not done learning yet, not done growing, not done living. Not done finding moments of beauty in a complicated world. So I'll stay here on this beach, in this city, in this strange, beautiful, chaotic place where dreams and reality collide. I'll keep teaching English and drinking coffee and watching the sunrise. I'll keep seeing Mai and every ladyboy who walks past. I'll keep wondering if it was real, and then reminding myself it doesn't matter. I'll keep living this small, quiet, honest life I've built from the ruins of my illusions, and I'll be happy, or close enough to happy that the difference doesn't matter anymore. That's the end of my story. Not a happy ending exactly, not a sad one either, just an honest one. Just the truth about what happens when a lonely man falls in love in a city built on transactions and tries to convince himself it's different this time. It wasn't different, but it was worth it. And I'd do it all again. Every mistake, every foolish hope, every baht spent, every tear shed, because that's what it means to be alive. To risk everything for something that might not be real. To hope anyway. To love anyway. To try anyway. And to survive the fallout with grace and understanding and maybe even gratitude. That's my story. That's what Pattaya taught me. That's what Mai taught me. And I'm grateful for every painful, beautiful, foolish moment of it.